I had that dream again. My small business needs to hire, but I don't use LinkedIn, and I hire wrong. So our orders get all backed up. We're drowning in paperwork, then actually drowning. Carol is fighting off sharks with a stapler, and pirates are pillaging the office copier, and then I wake up.
Don't let hiring nightmares ruin your dreams. LinkedIn Jobs' new AI assistant goes beyond the resume, using unique insights to deliver a smarter shortlist. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/quality. Start hiring today with LinkedIn.
The world moves fast. Your workday, even faster. Pitching products, drafting reports, analyzing data. Microsoft 365 Copilot is your AI assistant for work. Built into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft 365 apps you use. Helping you quickly write, analyze, create, and summarize. So you can cut through clutter and clear a path to your best work. Learn more at Microsoft.com/M365 Copilot.
My name is Ryan Pack.
And I'm Nicole Barlow.
This is Soundtrack Your Life, where we speak with a guest about a soundtrack that is important to them. Today, our guest is Bryan Louzil, president of Mometu, a curated film and TV streaming service. Welcome, Bryan.
Hi, Bryan.
Hello, Ryan and Nicole. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So excited to have you on. But before we jump into the soundtrack that you've selected, why don't you tell our listeners about Mometu?
Yeah, so Mometu is actually a free streaming service, and as you mentioned, Ryan, it's hand curated. So our team actually spends time curating the content so that you don't have to rely on an algorithm or look around for too long for content that you want to watch. We actually get a chance to expose you to different movies and shows that you more than likely have never seen, never heard of, and hopefully some genres and niches that you've never actually checked out before too. But it's also quite easy to get people into what they want to watch. So if you're like a horror fan or comedy fan or whatever it is, you can just click on movies or shows and go right into our curated sections for just those genres. So like if you're horror, you can click on movies, go right to horror, and right and immerse in a world of horror. But that world is also hand curated as well. So but Mometu means more for me and you. And what we wanted to do is bring more opportunities for filmmakers. The me is us, like we kind of said, is we hand curate the content. The two is you in Latin. So kind of more of a diverse for not just our users, but also our content. And we mainly focus on independent films, international films, and classics. Just a lot of the content that may or may not be on the forefront of most other platforms, kind of the underserved cinema. And we love that because we get to expose you to content that you may or may not have clicked on or didn't even know you loved.
And so, Bryan, if our listeners want to use your service, how can they use Mometu?
It is very simple. You can actually just go straight to your smart TV, your Roku, Fire TV, streaming device, whatever you're using. You can go right onto your phone. Just go right into the App Store and search Mometu, Mometu. Make sure you spell it right. Make sure Apple or your Android doesn't miscorrectly adjust the autocorrect to momentum, right? But Mometu, and you can just download it. It's for free, so free to download, free to use. It's all ad supported or commercials, if you may, because when we say ads, it's negative, but when we say commercials, it's fun, right? The Super Bowl commercials are great, but ads on YouTube are terrible, right? So no, it's just ad supported. It's how we fund the app to make sure it's free for everyone, make sure that there's no subscription that you need to use or pay for. And so that barrier to entry is for everyone. There's no way to like pay to get rid of the ads. We make sure just that it's just one model and strictly that. And the great thing is that we actually share 50% of our revenues with the filmmakers. So we actually
That's very
wanna
cool.
share
Wow.
that with everyone.
That's great.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I love this concept of curation for people who are cinephiles, for people who just straight up are indecisive and can't decide what to stream on any given night, which is me. Do you have a favorite curated list right now that you want to tell people about?
Oh man, there's so many good ones. I think my favorite recently has been the Terror Films curation that we've done. We did a partnership with Terror Films. If you're not familiar with Terror Films, they are the ones that brought people Hell House LLC, which is a like a found footage series
Hmm.
of films. I think they're up to 5 films now. I think we have 4 of them or 3 of them on their platform. But they have a ton of independent horror films. So that's been kind of been one of my go-tos as of late because there's just so much good content on there. They have an amazing documentary about Pet Cemetery. So if you're a Pet Cemetery fan, there's literally like all the behind the scenes footage and interviews for the making of Pet Cemetery. That was really cool. I actually have a podcast where I had on the one of the sales, I think the VP of sales, Sarah from Terror Films, where we talked about that documentary, and there's so much depth to it. It's incredible. But one of our most recent curated little I haven't really dove into too much yet, but we actually have an Asian blockbusters rail. So we partnered with a company called 213 and another one, Echelon Studios, where we brought over some Asian cinema, mainly Korean, but we have some Hong Kong and Chinese films mixed in, some Japanese, Malaysian, Filipino, Indonesian, Mongolian, but all the blockbusters. So we have some stuff that like did between 80 to say 400 million in the box office over in Asia, but just never made it over here to the States. And if it did, it was like limited release. So been very fortunate to bring over that content. That's been a really fun one for some of our users, and I can't wait to dive into it.
Love it.
Yeah, slightly off the record, and we can cut this, but can you find the Korean films that they put on Air Premia flights? Because I watched a bunch of movies
I
on
knew
my
this was
flight
coming up.
there and back, and I want to talk to someone about them, but you can't get them out here. And I feel like I'm the only person who has seen these things. And, when you're on a 14-hour flight, you can't really trust your judgment if they were good or not, because
Yeah.
you're just trying to pass the time.
Well, I don't know what films are on those flights because I've never flown that airline, but I would just urge you to go check it out yourself, Ryan. If you want to look over just specifically Korean films, then literally go to just our movie section, go straight down to there's 3 different levels. There's genres. I think we named it vibes, which is kind of niches, and then like more of a deeper dive of genres, and then below that, world cinema. So there's a section that's just for Korean films. So if you want to just dive into one country, you can go straight to Korea and go through all the blockbusters, all the horror films, all the different dramas. And the K dramas are obviously super popular, but there's a lot of really good crime dramas. I'm a big fan of the Policeman's Lineage. It's one of my favorites with Choi Woo-shik from Parasite and Cho Jin-woong, who's a very reputable name over there in Korea for as far as cinema goes. And it's kind of the Korean version of Training Day. So really cool film. But there's so many good ones that we have and a lot of them that I just don't know of yet because I haven't had a chance to dive into them yet. I think we just brought on like 90 films recently, just in the last like week or so, and like 60 of them are Korean. So there's just so much content that we just brought on. So if you're really into Korean films or just want to check those out, highly suggest going right to that little section there.
Oh, well, I definitely will be checking it out after this episode.
Love it.
And is this available in other countries?
So it's just available in North America right now.
North America.
So
Okay.
yeah, just mainly our users are US and Canada. We have the availability to watch in Mexico, which actually that curation is a different curation. I was actually in Cabo or no, not Cabo, Punta Mita, sorry. And when I was there, I jumped on the Mometu app just to see what it looked like because we curated it specifically for Spanish speakers for Mexico too.
Oh,
So
very cool.
the app looks completely different in Mexico. There's no like we have all our films, but the homepage is completely different. Is really what it is. So, but yeah, just here in North America first to start with, and then we have plans to move outside eventually. It'd be great.
Oh, that's great. And for our friend of the podcast, Jim, who's in Calgary, you can check out Mometu.
Yes, yeah, Mometu is available in Canada, and we have a lot of Canadian users that use our platform. They really enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm guessing he already knows about your service, but just in case he doesn't.
People may not. We've only been out for about 2 years. I mean, put that into perspective for some of the other bigger players in the free streaming service market. I mean, some of them, like kind of the top ones that have been around for about 15 or so years. So, we're kind of a baby in the space, if you may.
Right.
But we're making some waves and growing. So just give us a chance. Go check it out. Go download it. Tell your friends. Whatever you can do. We don't have to be your first option. We can be your second. It's totally fine. But when you're looking for something different, unique that another platform and another, especially algorithm kind of based platform is not giving you, we'd love to give you something different.
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea that you have a lot of classic films because I think those are getting overlooked by these streaming services,
100%.
and obviously foreign films is always great as well.
Definitely. And then just supporting independent filmmakers too. Like that's a big kind of crutch of what we started with. Like our kind of our foundation was supporting the underserved independent filmmaker that man, they grind to just put a budget together to make a film, and then it goes up onto a platform, a streamer, and it doesn't get like the placement, doesn't get the the eyeballs because they don't have a marketing budget. So we like to partner with people to do that. And one thing we're actually doing soon is what's called the Mometu short film showdown. So more details to come on that, but it's gonna in that kind of in a sense be a 9 month contest for independent filmmakers with short films that will be able to build up a not just prize money, but also an opportunity to turn their short into a feature that could be an original on Mometu. So, first time mentioning it on any platform, you get the scoop, guys. You get the scoop.
Now, that's
We are doing
amazing.
this really cool showdown, kind of a contest in a sense, to take festival short films one step further and help them monetize and help them potentially even develop into a feature film. So we're really looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's great. Love that idea. Well, Brian, so we asked you to pick a soundtrack for today, and you selected the 1999 Mike Judge film Office Space. So why did you pick Office Space for us, Brian?
Well, man, I was looking back at different soundtracks and I wanted to pick something that was different and unique from what anyone else that may have been on an episode with you guys had ever chosen. There's so many good ones. I mean, I think I sent you a few different options of ones that was like maybe these would be kind of cool to talk about. I'm not going to dig through all of your episodes to find exactly every single soundtrack you guys have gone on, but I mean, so many ones that I kind of put together a list that I can read off here, but ones that I was kind of thinking about were Guardians of the Galaxy, Baby Driver, Back to the Future, The Matrix, Garden State, Rock and Rolla, which I'm sure is one that most people haven't heard of before, whether they've seen it or whatever. But man, amazing cast of people in that film. But the music is incredible. Juno, Shrek, Remember the Titans, Old School, Gladiator. I mean, the list goes on, right? But I am a millennial. I am, born in the mid 80s, something that was right up my alley as far as like right when I started high school and obviously all my friends quoting movies and all that stuff. Office Space just came right to mind and there's so many reasons why, but I will say that three of the things that I wanted to go over with you guys was like, kind of big moments for this film was just like things to think about is being kind, don't judge a book by its cover, and chase your dreams because life is short. And I think that the music soundtrack to this film, like Mike Judge and their team did an incredible job putting this music together because right in 1999, this was the heart of like for my nostalgic childhood in a sense of music that I was listening to that I probably should have never been singing, should have never been quoting, and more than likely was listening to 'em in my car or in the shower. It was just those things where like certain things I definitely should have not been listening to or saying as a child, but um, it just brings back memories. It was just like movie quotes from this film and just sitting down and this was kind of one of those films where like you're a freshman in high school and you shouldn't have watched this film with your friends, but it was the one that you snuck off to go see with your parents, without your parents knowing kind of thing, right? So just brings back a lot of great memories.
Yeah, and in 1999, this movie kind of flopped. It barely made its budget back, but it's become a cult classic ever since. I remember it being on Comedy Central like repeatedly. I think I've seen the movie like multiple times through just turning on Comedy Central, being oh, Office Space is on again.
This cast is
yeah.
incredible. I mean, you got Ron Livingston, Jennifer Aniston. I mean, for her to do this film is just wild. Because if this type of film, especially since it was a flop and it is definitely a cult classic. It's an off the wall, I would say, bro humor comedy, but it's also relatable for everyone. But for her to be in there, just crazy to see with her, obviously her immaculate career she's had. But uh, Ajay Naidu, David Herman, Diedrich Bader, Stephen Root, Gary Cole, Richard Ryle, and then the Bobs, John McGinley and Paul Wilson. I mean, there's just an amazing cast. And then you're like, well, who directed this thing? And Nicole already mentioned it, but Mike Judge. I mean,
It
created some
it's
of
an a yeah, it's an amazing ensemble, but it's also really cool to think this is Mike Judge's first foray into live action, because previous to that, Mike Judge is only known for Beavis and Butthead,
Yep,
for King of the Hill.
yep.
So, studio took a pretty big risk, I think, on this concept and on Mike Judge being able to carry it. And I think similarly, there are some big risks and swings taken in this soundtrack, leaning so heavily into gangster rap, which if you flash back to 1999, is something that was really dangerous at the time. It was truly controversial. We live in an era now where Snoop Dogg is hosting the Olympics and Ice-T is on SVU, and it's kind of hard to imagine that like there was a moment where this was the edgiest thing that you could listen to, arguably.
Yeah, and to touch on Ryan's hat, I mean, Ice Cube opening for the Dodgers in the World Series. It's like this is just all like normal. Like for us,
Yeah,
it's like, but back then, yeah, it was definitely controversial for sure.
this was not a mainstream choice
Yeah.
of songs to use in your soundtrack. It works. Ironically, it works as this juxtaposition against these office drone characters, and it's flawless. And if it had any other music, it would be wrong. And there's a great story about that that I think we'll get to in a little bit.
Yeah, but and I would say even the balance of the kind of the jazz and mambo type music, like it's
Sure.
what a diverse mix of selections. I mean, Mike Judge and whoever's I didn't look who scored this, but maybe it was Mike Judge. But either way, like to put the music together. But I mean, like great knowledge of music to make this work, to make it pair with such off the wall comedy. Sorry,
Let's
go
dive
ahead.
into that. So the soundtrack supervisor is Karyn Rachtman. So she has been in the industry for a while. Her kind of big break, or her breakthrough as a soundtrack supervisor, was for Reservoir Dogs.
Oh wow,
So Quentin Tarantino wanted to use that song "Stuck in the Middle," and he was having trouble getting it cleared. And so Karyn came in. She was not working on the project initially, and she came in, worked her magic, got it cleared, and from that second forward, Tarantino was like, "You're the soundtrack supervisor for this movie."
crazy.
And so she's worked with him on Pulp Fiction as well, and a lot of soundtracks that we've covered on this podcast: Clueless and Romeo and Juliet as well. So 90s soundtracks. Karyn Rachtman was a huge player in the 90s soundtrack game. If you are like, that last name sounds familiar, her brother is Ricky Rachtman, former host of Headbangers Ball on MTV. He was also host of the show Loveline before Adam Carolla took over, and they took that to MTV. So, she's part of a very musical family as far as like people who curate music.
Yeah, I mean, she's kind of the Jennifer Aniston of her soundtrack world in this sense, man. That's phenomenal. I didn't know she did that many other films.
Yeah, and obviously she's done a bunch since then, but those are kind of the big ones that she did in the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, what an incredible balance though for this film is to match, like I said, kind of the jazz mambo type vibes that we kind of open the movie with, to then straight into gangster rap with Michael Bolton, and then the guy that's the I would say homeless or unhoused, or the guy with the sign walking by and is like asking for money on the side of the road. It's like, and he starts slowing the locks the car, slows, puts the music down a little bit. I mean, just the nuances of how they did that. It wasn't just like, hey, or here's a cool song. I mean, they played around with the volumes and played around with how that music really went into the film.
That scene of them in traffic that opens the movie is brilliant, I think, on a variety of levels. But what really strikes me about it, having rewatched it last night, is that Michael Bolton's singing this song right at like top volume and like, probably like doing all the N words that he's not supposed to do. The person outside is like carrying flowers. I don't even think it's somebody that's like, there's no insinuation that there's a danger, right? But the juxtaposition is like, oh no, like person on the street, let me roll up my window, right? And then like immediately the person passes and he starts singing again.
It's late 90s. He's singing, rapping a song, full volume. and sees a black guy holding flowers that's, obviously looking for money and just trying to make a living, like respect it. But just yeah, he just
There's
totally just
no
like
insane there's
he's like,
no
"Oh
even
gosh, oh
yeah.
gosh, don't hurt me."
"Oh god, oh no," and he kind of, like, sinks into his seat. I know this is sort of it's meant to be set in, like, Anywhere, USA, and tchotchkes is this representation of, whatever, strip mall culture. It could be anywhere, and Mike Judge is clear about that, but to me, canonically, this is Irvine. This is Irvine, California. If you were familiar with Southern California, it has such Irvine vibes. Initech is somewhere in an
Yeah,
office park next to the Irvine Spectrum, and everyone that inhabits this movie feels kind of Irvine to me. So I think
I'm from
that's
Santa
also something
Clarita.
I get out of it.
This is very Santa Clarita vibes for me.
Sure.
This is,
Sure.
there was a big, big business park that my mom worked in, like multiple jobs in different places over there, and we had Applebee's and we had, that kind of vibe, and it's like, yeah, that was the feel for sure.
It's very relatable in that respect.
Oh, there's
Everybody
business
can
parks
relate.
everywhere across the country. Yeah, 100%. Very, very relatable. There's, dead end jobs anywhere, right? Or just jobs that like people a means to an end, right? Just to kind of just get by. They got into it for whatever reason. I think it's intertrobe, but then at the very end of the movie they call it penetrobe, and it's just like it's just the writing was so good to just, but then the balance of the music just made so much
Right.
sense.
The different stupid portmanteaus of these, intertrobe, penetrobe is so funny to me. And again, like, just feels so corporate anywhere. It's great. These songs, so there's a story that Mike Judge told at a South by Southwest panel in 2024, and the story goes that 20th Century Fox was not a fan of any of the gangster rap in the movie. They pushed really hard for it to all be taken out. The trailers have Fatboy Slim in it. They have things from the 90s that are a lot more mainstream and a lot more upbeat. And so their vision for the movie was something very different. And Mike Judge fought them on it. And he's like, listen, I think it needs to be here, but let's send it to test screenings. And if after the test screenings people really hate it, then cool, I'll be open to taking it out. So
Yeah.
what ends up happening is that they get to this focus group and 20th Century Fox tries to set them up with a moderator who's clearly on the studio's side and baiting the audience into not liking the music. And so what the story that he tells is that she's trying to pollute the water, right? And she's
Yep.
asking them leading questions like, what did you think about the music? But what about the rap songs? Wasn't there too much? Didn't you think there were too many of them? And ultimately, the entire audience is this is so great, is, like, united in telling her, like, "No, they were amazing." And then essentially sealing the deal, like, "Oh, what's cool about it is these nerdy white boys, and the music's angry. We love it." So, I thought that was a great story of, like, the studio really trying to set him up to make a very different film, and without this music, I cannot imagine Office Space being the same.
Not at all. I mean, it's such a great balance of kind of lighthearted, feel good vibes, elevator vibes, that kind of thing, and even being on the beach at the end, just kind of that very relaxed to this hardcore gangster rap and a mix of Dolly Parton in between. I mean, it's just like the different levels of music on your like, and again, it's only like probably I would say about three, maybe four genres of music in a sense, if you want to kind of cultivate that or kind of bring it down to like very nuanced music there. It's like you got Scarface, Slum Village, Ice Cube, Cannabis and Biz Markie, right? Those are kind of the hot songs of the film as far as gangster rap goes. You got Dolly Parton mixed in, which just like what? Like where does that come from? Totally left field. And then you got the Damasco Perez Prado. You got a couple songs from them. So she really, Karen really loved uh, Damasco in the sense of bringing it kind of bookends the film, which is crazy how she did that. I don't know if people noticed that when they're watching the film, but that's bookended by the same artist. And then Louis Armstrong, like just an icon. So there's just I love the music in here, and I 100% agree. When you get to the point of beating the shit out of a printer, which for most people that have used one or have anyone that have watched The Office, like how much you just want to just beat down a printer when it's not working, when it jams, and it's very common for most people to have experienced that. There's no other way, Nick. There's no other song I could imagine for that scene now.
Yeah, and that scene uses "Still" by the Ghetto Boys, which that's the line that get it's a die motherfucker, kill kind of over and over again while they're getting this, like, mob hit on the printer, and it just makes it so much better. The part where they're holding back Michael Bolton, and then he, like, runs to
He
try to
runs to
hit it
go
again,
back.
and they have to hold him back. It's so good.
Yeah, it reminds me of like, the NBA or whatever, like when two people kind of get into it and then they hold him back and then you see the guy running back at him again. It's like, I mean, you just got this scrawny white guy just going after a printer. He just hates it so much.
I must say I work in IT, so
Oh, yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah. So you
I,
know the
I've
printers very
told
well.
people that AI can't fix a printer jam. They're like AI is going to replace all our jobs. Like, it can't fix a printer jam, man.
Nope. Got to
And
keep it.
Secure.
Got to keep at least one human around for that.
yeah,
Safe and secure. Has anyone here today ever office spaced an item before in their lives? Have you ever like taken an actual bat at one of those rooms?
I've
Because I
I've
feel like
done it
these
to a
smash
dresser.
rooms
Like
to a
when
dresser.
I was moving out of like my apartment in college, like I just
Mhm.
had like this cheap dresser that I was not gonna take with me, and I bought a crowbar at Home Depot and I office spaced it and then threw it in the dumpster.
Very nice.
It feels good, right? I had an ex-boyfriend who bought my parents a cookie jar, and the cookie jar was a dog that barked, and it was, just this cheap plastic cookie jar, and I remember my friends and I took it to the park and office spaced the shit out of it because I was so mad that this cookie jar existed.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I don't
I've
know if I
office
ever I
spaced a
don't know if I
thing.
ever have, but I mean, I'm sure that I'm just not thinking of something that I've done before, but there's definitely moments where I've wanted to, that's for sure. I worked in corporate America for like 15 years before, taking on the reins at Mometu, and yeah, there were definitely times in different offices that I'd wanted to just, go to town on something for sure.
I think that's definitely one of the cultural legacies of this movie that those rage rooms wouldn't exist, those places where you can actually go and, you know, beat up inanimate objects.
Yeah,
Because
I
it's a
was gonna
very
bring that
iconic
up, like,
scene.
literally, you could pay money to go. Yeah, you can pay money to just take a bat to different things in a room wearing glasses, and I love that. I've always wanted to do that for sure. That's definitely on a bucket
You
list to
can
go
crank
to
the
do one
Ghetto
of those rage
Boys and
rooms.
just do it. I love that idea that you can that's available in
I'm sure they
America.
have it on, that's probably the most actively requested song
Yeah,
for.
it's either that or like some like thrash metal.
Yeah, 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 definitely.
Just put on the Judgment Night soundtrack and let me break things.
That works too.
So I know that, at this time, Mike Judge was mostly known for animated stuff, The
Yep.
King of the Hill and Beavis and Butthead. Milt
The
Office
King of the
Spaces
Hill is still going too.
and King of the Hill is still well. Beavis and Butthead came back as well.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It came back on Paramount, right?
Yeah, they just made
Paramount.
a
Oh,
movie
yeah.
and
Yep.
um, but Office Space is actually based on a short cartoon series that Mike Judge made in the early '90s. So Milton has been in Mike Judge's imagination since like 1991.
Milton is incredible. I love that character so much.
What a character. I mean, again, what an indelible mark on popular culture because Milton is all of us,
He plays
really.
that character so well too. I mean, he plays that same type of character in Dodgeball. That
Mm.
that the getting Stephen Root. So because he plays Milton in this movie, then he plays Gordon in Dodgeball, and I just like the nerdy, like, he does such a good job of that, like, awkward type of guy, but then he can just turn on the anger at any moment kind of guy. Like, I love that character. He plays it so well. So Office Space, I would say, has a lot of similarities or connections to like Napoleon Dynamite, where you have two films that kind of flopped at the beginning. Like, if you want to say flopped, but they just didn't take off like the filmmakers thought they would. And then they became cult classics. And they were just like, because when I watched Napoleon Dynamite the first time, it was actually in an independent theater in Santa Cruz at like a dollar, indie film theater up there. And I didn't think it was that funny. And then then I watched it like a year later and I'm like, dude, this is hilarious. And so I think there's like some connections there to where, like, yeah, you mentioned the swing line stapler didn't pop off for a couple years. It kind of took a couple years for Office Space to become that cult classic that it is. I mean, there's so many people that didn't really know about it, and then it just all of a sudden became like this thing where people just could quote the movie nonstop.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by FX's The Beauty Official Podcast. Join host Evan Ross Katz on the official podcast for FX's hottest new series, The Beauty, taking you behind the scenes with its amazing stars as they discuss the show's most jaw-dropping moments. Featuring Evan Peters, Anthony Ramos, Jeremy Pope, Ashton Kutcher, Rebecca Hall, Bella Hadid, Meghan Trainor, Isabella Rossellini, Jessica Alexander, and Ari Grainer. Search FX's The Beauty wherever you listen to podcasts.
And yeah, like I said, it only did 12 million at the box office. I don't think they did the greatest job marketing it. I went back and watched the theatrical trailer for it. And like Nicole said, there's like Fatboy Slim in the trailer. There's no rap. You know, I think it's trying a little too hard to highlight it as a comedy. Like it's kind of pitched to you more like a goofy comedy where you see a lot more of the slapstick and not so much of the biting like satire of the film.
Yeah, this was, before social media, so this was definitely a word of mouth film. This was a film that people saw it in the theaters, they either liked it or didn't. Once it came out on DVD, it got much bigger.
Yeah, and I think Comedy Central helped it a lot too. Like I said,
Oh,
I used to
definitely.
see it like that and like Saving Silverman, I feel like we're on repeat.
Yep. And Half Baked.
Oh yeah, Half
Half
Baked as
Baked was
well.
kind of a hit or miss type of film, but man, so well written. The cast in there is incredible. And that was another movie where the producers were talking to the studios and they weren't sold on it either. And Dave Chappelle even mentions it. I think he was talking about it when he won the Mark Twain Award, where him and his partner, his writing partner, were like I think they pitched the idea that, or they were talking to someone like, man, you're funny. Like, can you make a movie? He's like, oh yeah, we have a movie. Like, we can have a script to you ready in 30 days. And Dave Chappelle said in like, total normal, like he just was smoking so much weed back then that he totally forgot. And then his partner called him and was like, hey, you got that script ready? And he's like, what script? It was like a day before they had to turn it in. And so they literally wrote that movie in 24 hours. It made that work. And so it wasn't a film that was super popular with the producers, but then it just became one of those films that, I mean, anyone turning on Comedy Central will stop and watch the whole film if it's on. It's so good.
Yeah. So Mike Judge was actually offered the
Mike Judge
U.S.
was actually
adaptation
offered
of The Office.
Yes,
And he turned it down because when he was reading reviews of The Office, one of them was, The Office succeeds where Office Space failed.
Wow.
And he was like, well, why would I want to take this on? And it went to Greg Daniels, who is actually also from King of the Hill.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. I didn't know that fact. And actually,
I didn't know
think
that
I
either.
mentioned it earlier, but yeah, tying in the fact that like, if anyone's seen The Office, you would definitely enjoy Office Space. It's just that same type of vibes where, there's so many things, especially with the printer, that happen. Jim always needs Pam to fix the printer, right? As far as, and it's like, it's just because it keeps breaking, But that's an interesting fact. I like that.
That's a weird thought exercise to imagine a version of The Office that exists under Mike Judge.
Be totally different for
Be
sure.
really different, totally really different. And like a really interesting thing too, because obviously the American Office based on the British Office, I kind of think that things in this genre maybe couldn't exist without Office Space being the cultural success that it was first. I think it did a lot of things first that people maybe don't know or don't recognize. Even needle drops in comedy, even hip hop needle drops in comedy, I feel like you can almost trace back and attribute to the things that Mike Judge decided to do in Office Space.
Yeah, as far as like more gritty needle drops for comedy, like I think there's, some really cheesy hip hop needle drops that people have been going to. But this was the first time where it's like, no, we're going to use like a gangster rap song.
It was
But,
half the song. I mean, half the movie.
Yeah.
Was gangster rap.
And it's going
Yeah.
to be funny. And I think,
Yeah.
people are like, no, it's too scary.
Yeah, exactly. So they kind of turned that on its head. It's like, no, we're not like, that's not the way that we're portraying it, and I think it probably did a lot for the popularity of gangster rap too.
Yeah, like we don't have to put Salt and Pepper's Push It in here again.
Again, right?
Yeah, so here's a quick question about the printer scene, which is obviously the climax of the film.
Oh.
At least in the sense of these guys going off, but I really
Hey.
enjoyed the Ghetto
The
Boy
Ghetto Boy
song.
song. But
do you
do
think
you think
that
that
song would hit even
even
bigger in the
bigger in the
movie
movie
if that
if
was the
that-
only gangster rap song? Or does it just play really well within the film as it is? Like, does it play better because half the film is gangster rap?
That's a really good question, actually. That's a good question. Like, if you were building to that moment, would it hit harder? I don't know, Ryan, what do you think? You go first.
I think no, because I think you need to build this universe where gangster rap is like normalized instead of like this really out of left field, like shocking, like, oh my gosh, what is like, where'd this come from? Like it hits hard because it makes sense within the universe that they've created.
But I think what's nice about it, and I tend to agree that you kind of need to build this universe and you need to build it up as part of the antagonism and part of the juxtaposition of this drone culture against, who these guys kind of think they are and want to be. I think Michael Bolton is the best example of this, right? Where he's got the Navy SEALs poster at his cubicle. I think he really sees himself internally as being somebody a lot bigger than who he actually is, which is just, a coder, a programmer who is preparing for the Y2K switch and does the same thing every day. I think this is his outlet. And so establishing that is kind of cool and nice and provides a good foil. But it also stands on its own. It's also like a capsule moment. So you can take it away from the film and it works just as well.
Yeah, I don't think Still hits as hard without No Tears. If you don't have the song in the beginning where Michael Bolton is kind of this like, behind the scenes he is a gangster rap enthusiast, then that song doesn't hit as well when it gets to the printer scene, and he's obviously going back for more.
Right.
Right.
Like low key, I almost see it as kind of like his soundtrack in a way, maybe because they open it with him having this kind of like personal relationship with that music. But I see that as his soundtrack, and I see things like, the more jazzy moments as, being Peter's moments.
Yeah. And then I'm also even down for whatever with Ice Cube, like down for whatever, like when they're planning and plotting. Like it's just like I don't know if that hits as hard if that's the only one, right? So I think everything is just really well balanced in the sense of like where it's intermittently added in to kind of just get the vibes moving of the film. And so I that's one of the things when I look at soundtracks, it's music is so important, especially for independent filmmakers, that when I talk to them, it's like you have to make sure that your music, you have something that really makes your movie start and vibe, right? The first 15 minutes, whether it's music or whether it's a scene that's just unforgettable, you have to give the user something to want to finish your film. And then you always need something, especially with a soundtrack, especially with music, in the middle of the film where it's kind of like people would say kind of the lull of the film, or kind of like where the film's building back up to get to that climax. You need something that is really, really strong from a soundtrack standpoint to keep that movie rolling, to keep the audience from wanting to go to use the restroom or go refill their popcorn, or, obviously get up off their couch and go do whatever. And it's like you want someone to almost like, no, I need to pause this, or I'm going to hold it because I want to finish this scene. Like the music is so important for those moments. And then obviously, yeah, at the climax or the chase scene or whatever it may be, there's, and I'm not going to get into it because there's other songs that I want to talk about, but like there are these moments where you need a proper soundtrack. And I really feel like this film would definitely have underperformed even more if it didn't have the soundtrack selection that Karyn brought in.
Oh, absolutely. And this may not have been a soundtrack that, went platinum in and of itself. Maybe they
No.
weren't like selling tons of it in the warehouse music, but it needed it. Like this is
That's not the job of a soundtrack.
no.
I think that people look at some like certain soundtracks are like made for that, whether if they're more of a score, right? Original scores, original soundtracks, or even like, you look at gosh, why am I forgetting the name of the film with Hugh Jackman, uh, Zac Efron,
The Greatest
musical
Showman.
Greatest Showman, yes. So like those are original songs, right? That is a whole different ballgame of a soundtrack being original, and even to Lord of the Rings and Star Wars and these films that are like these are original scores. That is a whole different ballgame of a soundtrack. Like we're talking about soundtracks that have like songs that are already existing that they were not created for this. They need someone with just a depth of knowledge of what's going to work with certain scenes and make this pop. This movie would not be the same without this soundtrack. And that's why it's like it stands out to me. Like when I was going over the different options when I was, talking to you guys, it's like this is one of my options. And the same thing I would say for even Rock and Rolla. If you haven't seen Rock and Rolla, highly suggest you go watch that. It is a phenomenal film. The cast is incredible. And again, it's just those things where like the music in that, the selections of that, it wouldn't be the same film if it wasn't done the right way.
And to geek out a little bit on hip hop, so Slum Village is on the soundtrack, and Slum Village
Yeah.
is not gangsta rap. Not that it's like PM Dawn, like, Kumbaya rap or anything like that, but it fits well enough in with gangsta rap. But in the 90s, like rap was very segmented where, Slum Village is kind of more known as like socially conscious, kind of backpacker rap. And usually you don't see that beside gangster rap, at least not in the 90s, right? You wouldn't like there was kind of this weird culture war going on with hip hop where you had like, you had the materialistic kind of money, bling, bling, bling rappers. And then you had, the socially conscious, educated, like let's talk about like real issues and real substance. And this is one of the few times where you could kind of see them go next, or you could see them beside each other without, and it works. It's not like a stunt.
I feel Slum Village has kind of even a vibe with like kind of a beat nuts, like
Yeah.
just that good chill rap, nothing too over the top. But this song just plays really well within the film. I mean, again, that's just the knowledge of Karyn. I didn't know Karyn was such a hip hop head. Good for her.
Good for her, right? I also think there's something to be said for Shove This J.O.B., which is the track that plays over the end credits.
Yeah.
And it's performed by Cannabis with Biz Markie. And it takes portions of a song called Take This Job and Shove It, which was written by David Allan Cole, but was popularized by this outlaw country artist in the 70s called Johnny Paycheck. Mike Judge has kind of a side quest, I think, being interested in outlaw country music. There is actually a Mike Judge animated series called Tales from the Tour Bus that came out in 2017, and it tells the story of Johnny Paycheck, of Jerry Lee Lewis, George Jones, Tammy Wynette, and there's these really funny, like, animated vignettes of all the insane things that are almost, like, to the point of being unbelievable that these country stars did back when. So I always think of that as being like, did Mike Judge, and I have no evidence one way or the other, but did Mike Judge kind of like curate that himself? How did that one come about? Because it's also not gangster rap.
I'm not familiar with that show, so
It's really fun, actually. Even if you don't know outlaw country or don't care about it, really, it's pretty fun in a very like Mike Judge King of the Hill sort of way.
Yeah, but you can with Biz Markie, you can know he's so eccentric in all the best ways that it could have also just been his idea.
Totally. Yeah. Like maybe it came up organically and Mike Judge was like, absolutely. Maybe it was something they already had, in the can, and, the studio or the music supervisor said like, how about this? But either way, I feel like it's both very fitting of the movie, but it's also like very Mike Judge. And I love that.
I could see that.
yeah. Biz Markie is one of my favorite rappers of all time, so I just love his music. There was actually, I remember I might have been, a freshman or sophomore in high school, and there was I had a CD. If people listening remember what those are, but I had a CD that I had, and the Biz Markie song that I had on this like mixtape was the only song that had no cursing, And so I was driving up with with the coach, and his daughter was like 4 years old. And so she's sitting in a car seat. She wants to listen to my music, and I was like, "Is this okay?" I was like, "I'm listening to some rap music," and he's like, "Is there anything without cursing?" And I was like, "There's one song that I know for sure doesn't have any cursing, and it was Biz Markie." And
One
so
song.
I played this song, and she wanted it on repeat. Like she literally was just the
Wow.
whole drive to the field. She was just like nodding her head, little 4-year-old. I was like, "Go Biz Markie! You got
She's
I can
ahead of her
see it.
time because
She was ahead of her
dude."
time.
because he became such a big part of Yo Gabba Gabba as well. Kids just love Biz Markie.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
true. But he is kind of a lovable character. He's really fun. How could you not love Biz Markie?
Yep.
Yeah, that's why I was like, if it's a fun sample idea, I'm guessing it's Biz Markie and not Cannabis who came up with that sample.
Right. He's
I would agree with
the
that.
quirkier of the two, right?
Especially since it's shove this job and nothing bigger than just the word shove.
Right.
Rest in peace, Biz. And rest in peace, Jay Dilla of Slummed Village.
Dude. Yeah. Getting to that age for myself that a lot of the artists I was listening to are like, kind of having their remembrance, and it's like, ugh, this is rough.
Yeah, I remember being a freshman in college and I had access to like high-speed internet for the first time and Napster.
The LimeWire days.
LimeWire
Oh, the
stuff. And
LimeWire days.
it's
Yeah.
like, oh, let's get me some Slum Village.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was in. I was big into Beat Nuts, big into Biz Markie, so many others. But I mean, just, yeah, the LimeWire and the Napster days of just ripping songs and then putting them on the blank CDs. I think my brother and I had like stacks of like 90, the CDs that were like multicolored.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Oh,
get there,
nice.
and
Yep.
put like each individual color was into different genres of music, and so if you
Yeah,
ran out
that's
of
how
a
to do
color,
it.
you had to go back and get another color because I couldn't use yellow for rap because rap was red, or like
I love that.
whatever it was. It was like we had to separate it so that when
At least
you're
it's
going through
organized.
your
Yeah.
big old binder of CDs looking for the next thing you're going to put in the car, like I had two 12-inch Rockford Fosgate subs with a inverted box with the glass and the plexiglass to make it bounce twice, and of course the trunk couldn't handle it, and it had the license plate was rattling like crazy at every stoplight. So you had to be able to switch the music pretty quick. The only way to do that was by color coding it. Like that for us, it was just way faster to be able to like go right in through, be like, all right, I'm going to listen. This is my vibe right now. I'm going to move it to this, and go through the different colors.
That is so organized. That's such a system. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that before, and I love that.
Yeah.
We inevitably end up talking a lot about nostalgia films, and then we get into these conversations about physical media and things like CDs. And I've never heard anybody
Yeah.
organize their shit like that. Good for you, Bryan.
That is
Thank
next level.
That's
Pink-
In a good
amazing.
way.
Pink was definitely the mixtape for the girls. That was if you're making a mixtape for your girlfriend, that was the pink color that we had. It was like, so yeah, and you could only but you didn't have too many of those in there because you always gave them away. Like here's your and we had even like CD covers, like and drawing on the CD covers and all that stuff too. Like when you're giving one away to someone, writing all the tracks with a Sharpie on the glass.
Right.
I mean, yeah, things that people don't deal with nowadays. Everything's all digital. Physical media, rest in peace.
Rest in peace. But speaking of Karyn Rachtman, as a hip hop head, she also did the Bulworth soundtrack, which gave us the amazing Ghetto Superstar.
Let's go.
Wow. What a great, wow.
I want to meet Karyn.
Right?
Karyn sounds cool. Karyn sounds like someone I want to have dinner with.
Like, what a G.
Yeah, like I just want to
I love her.
listen to records with Karyn. Hey, let's just go to Karyn's house, listen to some records.
I love it.
Well, it's like, let's do
wonder-
some really unexpected things in mainstream studio films. I love that.
She also did the Minecraft movies.
Listen, the Minecraft movie, from a soundtrack perspective, like, you can't be mad. I'm not mad.
No, it's
Great.
awesome. It's
Good for her.
it's very like out there as well.
Yeah, it's weird.
Also directed by the guy who did Napoleon Dynamite.
Yes, right. Full circle.
We were just talking about that.
I have to say, I know this is a bit of a segue, a bit of a pivot here, but I think it's funny that There is a Mambo number 8 on this soundtrack, but we avoid Mambo number 5. It's like a near miss almost to me. Like, thank God Mambo number 5's not here. Could have been. I wonder if somebody talked about that.
You know what? Karen knew what she was doing. She wanted
Yeah, she knew. She was like, we're not doing number 5, but we will accept number 8. Number 5, no. A little bit of Monica in our cup. Could have happened.
I heard Lou Bega's doing a cover of Mambo number 5, so we'll just let him do that on his own.
Karen had 8 on it. She didn't have 5 on it.
Ooh, I got 5 on it.
Good. Spars, Bryan.
Also a classic song.
So good.
Surprisingly not in this movie, though.
Surprisingly not in this movie. It's one of those, this movie's not about drugs. So
that's
true.
Sense. Though Jordan Peele used a great version of it for the trailer for Us.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
It's like the beat for I got 5 on it, but it's like with an orchestra and it sounds super creepy.
Ooh.
It's an
I'll
awesome
check that out again.
It's an awesome use of it.
Yeah, there's so many good samples that people can pull from. And it's actually interesting now, like you're getting people that are pulling from stuff that from the early 2000s as like samples for songs when back in the early 2000s or even the late 90s, people were pulling samples of like songs from the 60s and 70s. And so it's just like, man, when I'm watching that, there's a little video on social media that popped around, and I'm sure it's from some comedy show, but where the guy's talking about with the kids, like, oh, what's an older song, whatever, and talks about all the songs, like the rap songs from the early 2000s, like, oh, these are classics, and it's like, no, that's not a classic. That's not a classic. Just fighting it, like, I'm 40, but no, come on. Music I grew up with is not classic yet.
Yeah, I think I heard like Green Day's American Idiot on like classic rock radio. I was like, no.
Yeah, I think the girl says a milli.
Oh,
and she's like a milli, and all the clouds like, oh, I love that classic, a milli. I'm like, no, it's not a classic. I'm not that old yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I listened to I was listening to some K-pop song, and I was like, did they sample one of the songs from the Dance Dance Revolution game?
Ooh, shout out to bowling alleys everywhere.
Yeah.
Dance Dance Revolution, that was the spot. I wasted a lot of quarters on that. Like,
I wasted way too many. I'm still not a good dancer.
Yeah, it doesn't really train you. It doesn't really train you up.
It doesn't train you, and that's
in my experience.
A nice little.
Maybe if you're a tap dancer.
Tap dancer, yeah, that could be. I mean, you had the bar to hit. You had to end up holding onto the bar to go to the faster songs. I mean, that's not dancing. No. But Grandma's Boy, when they busted out Dance Dance Revolution, just I mean, it brought back so many memories. It's like the guy's like, here, check this out, and he's doing this like slow dance, and the guy the gamer just comes in, he's like, oh, I've never seen this game. Just bust out every single move like on the hardest setting. Yeah, a lot of fun.
Yeah. So speaking of the sanitization of hip hop over time, or us feeling like these gangsta rap figures, or these gangsta rap figures who have now become like perfectly acceptable in popular culture. Whenever I hear the name Ice Cube, I think of the cartoon The Boondocks, and one of the kids being like, Ice Cube, you mean that old dude from all those family movies? And I hear that line every time I hear his name.
Yeah, I mean those guys are like their 50s and 60s now. So all the artists that we grew up on.
Barbershop, are we there yet?
AI is incredible. It can teach you how to fry an egg and even write a poem, pirate style. Yarr! But it knows nothing about your work. Slackbot is different. It doesn't just know the facts, it knows your schedule. It can turn a brainstorm into a brief, and it doesn't need to be taught. Because Slackbot isn't just another AI, it's AI that knows your work as well as you do. Visit slack.com/meet Slackbot to learn more.
I mean, I like him as an actor, but
yeah, he does good. We have a film with Ice Cube on our platform called Equal Standard. and he plays it's a racial injustice film where I think it takes place in New York, and whereas there's a black cop and a white cop, but then they ended up like shooting each other, or one of them, they there's a scene outside of a liquor store where they shoot each other, and the guy's like, "Hey, I'm a cop. Like, we're brothers." Like, and he's like, "No, no, put your hands up." And like, the guy goes to reach for his like badge to show him his badge, and like he thinks he's reaching for a gun and shoots him, and then one of the other guy pulls out his gun and shoots the other guy, and it's just like it's a crazy film, but he does an incredible job in that film.
No, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, another indie that most people never talked about, but it also came out at a time during stuff with George Floyd, and so it's just like I don't know how hard the people that made that film could have marketed it in certain
Right.
aspects, because it just could have been touchy on, but on certain sides. But so who knows? I didn't look into like actually who produced that one, but it's a really really well made film, and it's been a higher performer um, on our platform.
Oh, nice. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
We like to play a game called Life in 3 Tracks, where we ask our guests to soundtrack a movie of their life. And there's 3 scenes: an action scene, a romance scene, and a montage scene. So, Brian, I know that you haven't had a whole lot of time to think about things, but where would you like to start?
Well, I mean, we'll just go in order. You got this a little last minute, but I'm down because I love film and I love songs. Music actually usually makes the movie for me, so that's really nice. As far as action scenes, there were a bunch of different ones to choose from. I mean, you got Eye of the Tiger, Rocky 3. You got Baby Driver has multiple songs that I could have gone with for action scenes, but I got to go Highway to the Danger Zone. Got to go Top Gun, Maverick. I mean, it when I was thinking of action sequences, this was just something that was top of my list. I remember being at my buddy's house in Idaho, and he's got this like full surround sound system in his backyard that's like built into his planters, and like he actually has a 12-inch subwoofer that is dug 4 feet deep into the ground. I mean, it's an
Whoa.
incredible sound system. It makes the whole ground shake. And so you could just imagine when we turn on Maverick, we were watching the new film when it came out, and he's got this like 100-inch TV in his backyard, and we're watching this, and you just literally, as the planes are starting to take off, and da 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 da, just I mean, the whole ground was moving. It was crazy. It felt like an aftershock. Felt like, am I in California still? Like, what's going on here? But yeah, can't go wrong. That is by far, I think, something that just gets my blood moving as far as the soundtrack goes. Highway to the Danger Zone.
Okay. And you want to do the romance scene next?
Let's do it. Yeah, romantic scene. I can't get past this. This is nostalgic. This is watching movies with my mom. This is Dirty Dancing. Time of my life. There's just kind of the thing of showing up for important moments, showing up for the big moments for your girl. That is key for me in my relationship with my wife. And no one puts baby in a corner. It's pure joy for that moment, and especially the lift. Come on, everyone wants to do the lift. Even La La Land did the lift. You just you gotta be able to do the lift. And so yeah, everyone dancing at the end, all the old people even getting in on it. Time of my life.
All right. And then montage. What kind of montage scene is in your life that you'd like to soundtrack?
Well, since I was a little bit of a hip hop head growing up, but I'm white, so I had to go with my white rapper Eminem. I had to go Lose Yourself, 8 Mile. Just I put a few notes here for this, but like the very beginning, right? You got the beginning where it's just like, look, if you had one shot, one opportunity to seize everything, would you capture it? Just let it slip. But then you're gonna fail. You got to go back to the lab again. You got to put a pad to the pen. You got to keep going, and you got to keep working on your craft and becoming a better person and a better version of yourself. And then, when the time comes, you got to lose yourself in the music. And I feel that's a great point to end on for this podcast, because we get lost in the music and the soundtrack to your life. But the moment you own it, you better never let it go. You only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime. It is such a moment that no matter what you're doing in life, no matter where you are, whatever your passion is, whatever your craft is, whatever you've been working on for your life, or whatever stage of life you're in at this moment, you got to be ready for when the time comes. You got to be ready. So keep practicing, getting better. Know that failures are going to come. It's okay. Learn from them. Move forward. I have a 4-year-old, so I tell them all the time, you're going to learn through failures. You're not going to win every time. He's just starting soccer, so doing sports, all that stuff. So it doesn't matter if you're 4, doesn't matter if you're 40, doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing in life. No one is successful in where they are right now without failure, and it's what you do in those moments of failure that you can really flip the script and obviously turn out the way you want to and be known for something great. So make sure you're ready for that moment.
Oh, excellent choices.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, there's so many more I could have gone with too. So many options, but had a little bit to prep, so a little bit less than 24 hours. I'm all about it though, man. I love this. This is such a cool segment to do. I do some fun stuff on my podcast as well with I play a this or that segment, and I just throw random questions at people, this or that, 20 questions, no wrong answers. Getting some of the incredible things, like you mentioned the Boondocks actually earlier, but the voice, John Witherspoon,
John Witherspoon is so good.
and rest in peace. I had his son JD on one of my episodes in my podcast, and he talked about John. And one of the things in the this or that segment was really cool was that it was a simple question: sunlight or daylight or night, or daytime or nighttime. That's what it was, daytime or nighttime. And he said one of his quotes from John was that the days that he really enjoyed were the ones that he was able to see the sun, because he was a stand-up comedian. That's really what he was known for. So he worked a lot of comedy clubs, and so he would sleep during the day. He never got to see the sun. He said some of the best days were when I got to see the sunlight, got to see my family, got to see the precious moments where I wasn't just working and just grinding at night and surrounded by cigarette smoke and booze and whatever. And,
Right.
At the club till 4, and then getting home, falling asleep at 6, getting back up at 6, sleeping a 12-hour day, missing the whole day. Some of the greatest moments were with the sun. So love this. Love this segment. Great segment, guys.
Oh, thank you. Well, we really enjoyed talking to you, Bryan. Thank you for being on our podcast.
Thank you, Bryan. This was really fun. Great
Blast
movie.
podcast. Yeah, thank you. It's old school or Office Space, and there's so many others, but Office Space, yeah, just a phenomenal. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. Go nod your head to this film. It's only $3.99 on YouTube.
That's true. So check out Mometu. If people want to follow you or Mometu, how should they find you on the internet?
Yeah, as far as social media goes, well, actually, I'll go internet first. Our website, mometu.com, simple, mometu.com. Go check us out. You can get all the different links, blogs. If you're a filmmaker and you want to submit your movie to our platform, you can go there as well. All our press and all that stuff is there as well. But if you're looking to connect with us on social media, go to @freemometu. Mometu is free, so very simple to remember that. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Threads, even Reddit. Actually, we have a Reddit page that our fan created, which is really cool. So I think it's a Mometu TV on Reddit, but look us up there. Follow along. And if you want to find me specifically, you can just reach out to me either at Bry the Movie Guy or on my podcast, which is really fun. If you want to go check that out, we did one season so far last year. We did about 30 episodes. A lot of fun, a lot of cool guests across the gamut of the entertainment spectrum, where I got to ask them about their journeys. And that is either search Mometu podcast, but the real name for the podcast is the More For Me and You podcast. So go check us out there. Most importantly, go download the app on your television. Go download it on your streaming device, Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, Android TV, or even on your mobile devices to take us on the go. It's free, so very low risk, all reward. I promise you, we got over 10,000 titles that you need to check out, and a big mix of independent, international, and classics. So we don't have to be your first choice, but we should be your second.
If you listen to this podcast, we know that you watch a lot of movies, so
Yeah,
go
we have
download it
stuff
now.
expanding over the last century of film. I mean, we have stuff all the way back to the 1920s. So a lot of soundtracks to go through. That's for sure.
Yeah, no excuses, Jim. They even have it in Canada. You can follow us on Instagram at SoundtrackCast. We're on Blue Sky at soundtrackyourlife.net. And, if you want bonus episodes and you want to see what we write about, you can go to our Patreon at SoundtrackYourLife, or patreon.com/SoundtrackYourLife, and you can find all that information there. Thank you again, Bryan, and maybe we'll touch base later this year.
I hope so. Yeah, I'd love to jump back on and do another episode down the road, and even talk about our film festival for college students that we're going to be doing, and even discuss more about the Mometu short film showdown that's going to be kicking off here in just a couple months.
Oh, cool. Yeah, come back when you have more things that you want to talk about. It's really fun.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now, you call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose?
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.